black and white Americans,
Yeah.
right? That's not a cultural thing. Black Americans and white Americans are culturally pretty similar, meaning language,
Yeah.
food, all that. And because it's American culture, they can say people will argue they're culturally different, but if you look at if you compare that to a place like India or something, bro, they're not culturally different at all. They're the exact same. So yeah, but still, black and white marriages aren't the most common interracial marriage in America.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's Hispanics, but again, that goes to that's what we were thinking about. Is it are we attracted to people similar to us, or are we attracted to people who look different than us? For plants, I've heard that heterogeny is better for their survival, like an evolutionary thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, we aren't plants. I don't know. What do we find?
we are
attractive?
living things, though.
We are living things.
I feel like that applies to anything. The reason heterogeny is good for plants is because, it allows for better mutations, right? Like, and I feel like it's the same for humans. I mean, we're one species, obviously. We're not different species, but plants when they're heterogeneous, I think, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think the reason it's better for them is because they can adapt like the best of each, like the best mutations of each, almost, something like that.
What?
Like if one plant had a really like a mutation that was really useful for it. I can't think of an example on this top of my head. Another plant had a really good mutation, and then both of them breed. Now they can have both of those. I don't know if that makes sense, and I don't know if that's the reason. We can ask my dad after, he would know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think there's an evolutionary reason why heterogeny is good for plants, and I feel like the same logic would apply for humans. So I don't know. But then again, if you look at India or something, we're so endogamous.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I don't know. I mean, even if you look at India, how did Indians become Indians? It's a mixing between
Oh yeah, 100%.
multiple different subsections.
No Indians are purely Indians are a mix of three ancient populations, and no Indians are solely like one of those. I think the most you might see is some populations in Pakistan. Okay, when we say India, we're talking about South Asia. Sorry, Pakistanis and Bangladeshis.
Yeah.
But some groups in Pakistan have like 70% in one group, but that's the most.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like most groups are, and some groups in some tribal groups are 70% of one group, but that's the most. Like almost all Indians are a mix of these three populations.
I wonder why Pakistanis and tribal groups. I wonder what they have in common.
No, it's not like that.
I'm just kidding.
It's not like that. It's 70% of one group, meaning, yeah. It's not really like that. It's just, depending on who lived in your area, or where the populations came in.
Yeah. Just geographical location.
Geographical location, 100%. The most mixing probably happened where?
In the middle.
Yeah, the middle of India. Or kind of the middle, but it's like more like where the Vedic civilization was.
Yeah.
Because those people were the least in terms of all the populations. But yeah.
At least meaning they're the most mixed.
Least meaning they were like less in numbers. So if you want if we're assuming three groups, Indians are a mix of three ancient populations, right? And then if you wanted the most mixed person, you would need 1/3 in each, right? Or you would want a person who has 1/3 of each group. And where you'd find that most is where Vedic civilization was, because that migration was the least amount of people. The two migrations before that were huge mass migrations.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So that third migration is a little bit more rare in India, or that third population.
That makes sense. What do you think about interracial marriage?
Bro, are you trying to get me canceled?
No, I just want to say.
What do you think, meaning
I'm just
what?
curious.
Like, what? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you think about it?
Just in general.
Like, do I think it's okay? Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Why would I be against it?
I don't know. Or do you think it's ideal for evolution?
Ideal for evolution? I don't know. The only thing I've ever heard is that plant's point. I know that. Well, we all know that you can't marry within a family. That's bad for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
you're saying how much to that extent?
How much to that extent? Like if let's say you have a group of people, and they're making sure they're not marrying anyone like, you know, they know who their second cousins are and third cousins are or whatever, right? But like how far back can you go? And then
Mm-hmm.
once you go to that point, does it even matter? Like if you're marrying your fourth or fifth cousin or something, does it even matter? Like is that bad for you? And you wouldn't know either, right? Like who's your fourth cousin? You wouldn't even you
Yeah,
can't
no
name
idea.
one. So, I don't know. In America, obviously, it's way harder because what's the chance that you're gonna meet someone who's your fourth cousin or something?
Mm-hmm.
It's a country of immigrants. But then again, the immigrants, we all mixed.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who have been here, whose ancestors have been here for hundreds of years. So I don't know. I think what I've heard is up to 2 generations, it doesn't matter. So like your second cousin, if you married and had kids with, it would be bad. But your third cousin, you're gonna see little or zero effect.
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. And then
But then, I mean, would it be better, or would it be, or I feel like what you're saying, it doesn't matter. But what if you just married someone from a completely different area? Then
would
there's
it be
no effect
better?
at all. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I was thinking. Like the same thing with the plants. Like there's no effect at all. But then, yeah, I guess there's no reason to be against interracial, intercultural, intergeographical marriage, other than
I mean, if you're looking
other
at
than
the
cultural reasons.
yeah, if you're looking at the moral side of things, like how do you raise an interracial child?
Other than cultural reasons, there's no reason to be against it. But there is a reason to be against like super close endogamy. Like there's no reason to be against exogamy other than the fact that culture.
Mm-hmm.
But the reasons to be against endogamy
Your kid is
are
gonna be
much
messed up.
more severe, yeah. And endogamy to what extent again? So I don't know. That's the only thing I'd say about intercultural marriage. It's cultural differences. But I don't know if there's anything else, any other reason negative to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What's the argument that people who are against it would say?
It is definitely a purely cultural thing.
Okay.
Because it's like, oh, if a Christian and a Muslim kid marry, or a Christian and a Muslim marry, how would you raise your child?
Yeah.
But then it's those people themselves are just so rigid in their worldview.
That's a challenge. That's definitely a challenge though.
It is a challenge. But I don't know. To me, I feel like it's not that hard.
You'd
of a
be
challenge.
fine
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah. I don't know. I think it 100% just depends on the person. Then would they be willing to do that, or would they be okay with that? I don't know. I
don't know. I feel like I mean, especially even if you're looking at the moral side of things, I was exposed to a lot of Catholicism as well because I went to Catholic school for a decent amount of or at least during my prime developing years. And I feel like they didn't affect me too much. Or I feel like I got, I grabbed what I could from my parents and I grabbed what I could from my school and just kind of combined it together to form whatever values.
Yeah. Or found the common values in each.
Yeah, and build a foundation out of them.
Yeah.
So I feel like in that case, it's not that bad.
Yeah, but with marriage, I think it's a different case because some people, if you look at some Abrahamic religions, they would reject anything we believe in if they were a strict follower of that religion.
Would they though? I feel like they would just do it out of you're not knowing enough.
No, they would reject it, meaning they wouldn't want their kids to be. If you married a devout Christian, like they wouldn't let your kid worship Ram or Krishna.
That's true.
Right? So.
It'd be hard to make that argument again that it's all the same. Or, I was thinking about this as well. We're saying religion is all the same, but I feel like to an extent it is. But there's some stuff that's definitely unique to each.
Yeah.
Because even in the way that we worship, I mean, Christianity, it's like you're exclusively praying to Christ, and he is the only, and you reject everything else. And then in Islam, it's like you submit. Your submission to God. That's the most important thing over anything else. And then in like Hinduism or Buddhism or any of the Eastern religions, it's detachment. It's like you don't care about much.
Devotion also matters.
Devotion also matters. I agree.
In Hinduism, there's different schools of thought.
That's true. Okay, then let's leave Hinduism out of it and say Buddhism is mainly about detachment, and that's how you attain salvation.
Yeah, but Buddhism isn't even a religion.
It's not a religion.
It goes back to our definition of religion. I feel like the modern definition of religion is just anyone that worships a higher power. But
Okay.
do Buddhists believe in a higher power?
It's up to their interpretation, I
Yeah.
think.
So
But
that it's
in
just not
general,
important to
in
them.
general, yeah,
So is it a religion then?
in general, they say I think it is because it's a
Mhm.
way of life. Like your entire lifestyle is just based around that.
But then so many things are a religion. The American way of life, is that a religion?
Yeah, but I mean, how strictly do the people follow the American way of life compared to Buddhism?
Okay, let's take it. Look at some radical political people, like some people who believe, you know, uh, like think about some liberals who all believe the same, like the same things. And if you disagree the slightest bit, they'll be on you. And the same with hardcore conservatives.
Hmm.
But they'll be like, if you say something slightly against their belief, then boom. I remember when I was a kid, or when I was in middle school, Andrew Yang was running for president, and he aligned with the progressive agenda to a dot, and then he put out a letter and he said he supported Israel, or right, and he's like, we stand with Israel. And all these people just came out and were like, all right, I'm not voting for you anymore. I'm not voting for you. I'm not voting for you.
Hmm.
And regardless of the merit of that belief or whatever, that what he believes in about Israel, like that is a religion, bro. Like they believe in that every single issue they have to be on the same
Okay,
point.
that makes sense. But if you're saying then to a higher
That's a way
power,
of living almost, you
yeah.
know.
But I'm pretty sure they believe in the collective unconscious and stuff as well.
Who?
The Buddhists.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that that's a higher power.
Yeah.
It's something above the rest of humanity.
Yeah, yeah.
They just don't think that they have any duty to worship it or anything.
Yeah.
They think the way to salvation is detachment.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's different for each thing. I mean, even if you're looking at Christianity, detachment is there, but it's not as emphasized as, devotion to Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can say they're all the same, but they're all a little bit different to an extent.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're all, I don't know, maybe different proofs
Mhm.
of God or
Yeah.
different ways to get to him.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like that's something, I feel like it might be a good thing if we know all of that, or we
Mhm.
understand all of that, and we
Mhm.
don't rigidly follow one to a T.
Mhm. If you understand,
The different paths to get to God.
yeah, I'd say it's always good to like broaden your knowledge and broaden your, I guess, understanding of different things or different paths to God, sure, but also following. It's almost, for me, I almost believe that everyone has a certain path of God, and they should stay on that path. I think all of them,
Like they're by birth.
yeah, by birth or whatever way they land on it, you know. But I think there's no point, again, that I think this is why our religion doesn't, or our belief system doesn't convince people to, or doesn't believe in conversion. But it's almost like every person has a path to God, and it's not my job to deter them from that path. Like, oh, here's a new idea. How about you think about this? And then, you have a kid who's a devout Muslim, and he's not super knowledge, meaning he doesn't know about the other paths to God. And then he's on his path and he's a devout Muslim, but he doesn't know about Hinduism, Christianity, any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you give him an idea like, oh, something that might interfere with his path or interfere with what he believes. You give him this thought, then I feel like it's like deterring him from his path to God. Why would I want to deter this kid when, he's obviously on the right track and he's on the right path?
That makes sense.
So, I don't know.
I don't know, but what if this kid is really on about submission, but then you, I don't know, show him or you say detachment's not a bad thing as well. Again, you can say detachment builds into submission as well.
But why would I want to encourage detachment to him when he's, when submission is going to lead him to the same result?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you feel like, is that where the problem lies whenever two religions mix together?
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing I was going to say is, this is another thing. So again, going back to the interracial marriage, I feel like I was out of it and I didn't give you like a clear enough answer when you asked
Sure.
that, and it might have made it seem like I was racist for a second, but I was just thinking about these things. So I was thinking about the reasons like why someone would be against it in the first place. But the reason would be, another reason could possibly be back to when you said we've evolved, or when I said this, when we've evolved faster than our biology.
Our brains can catch up.
Our biology. For so long, we've married within the same groups and we've had children within the same groups. it almost makes me wonder like what would happen if you marry someone from like
Just looking at it from a
someone,
pure biological
yeah,
perspective.
someone that's genetically super super different from you. Like would there be any adverse effects of that?